Today we're going to work on our actual layout. We've looked at the brief, we found out who our target audience was, we came up with a design plan, we then did some scamps, we built our grid, and now we're actually ready to start creating a layout. So we'll take one of the scamps that we did, we'll use this one with our large hero image, we'll use 3 smaller images that are going to tell a story with alongside our main hero image. Then we have some body copy and we also have a quote. So the first thing that we want to do is let's open up our grid in InDesign. I'll put a link in the descriptions where you can download this grid if you hadn't built it in the previous exercise, but it's definitely worth looking at if you do want to start creating your own grids. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go to my picture box tool and then draw out our main hero image. This is going to be the image that draws all of our attention, the one that is going to have really a large amount of impact. It's going to be bright colors. It's going to, be an interesting picture to look at. I'm then going to go to my color palette and I'm going to make the background black. This is just so that we can see where it sits on the page before we start importing in our actual final images. And then we'll draw out our 3 smaller images, and again we'll make the background black. At this stage we'll just put them on the page quite rough, and what we'll do is we'll finalize our layout once we have everything on the page. So let's copy and paste our first image to make up the 3. So we'll go to edit, copy, and then to paste, and we'll do the same with our third image. Next we'll go to our text tool and we'll draw out our text area where our body copy is going to sit. So let's select our copy. We do that by going to File, Place. We then find our copy and we click Open. We'll set up our copy just quickly and rough at this stage. When I do my body copy, I'll have a number of fonts that I want to use, and I test them at various point sizes. So you might do one at 10 point, one at 8 point, one at 15 point, and you can see any legibility issues. Even test the spacing, so you can say on one that it will be 12 point leading or 15 point leading, and then narrow down which font works best for you. Because these layouts are going to be viewed really quickly, if you remember we were just going to say that our audience was going to flick through them, we want a font that is really legible. So we don't want them to struggle when they're reading. So for this reason I've chosen FSME to be my body copy font. I want the weight of the font to be light, again for legibility, so that it's really easy to read. The font size I'm going to use 10 point, and the leading I'm going to set to 12 point, which is what we set our grid to when we built it in the previous exercise. Now I'll go back to my text tool and I'm going to draw out another text box, and this will be for our quote. So we can copy our quote using shortcuts of Command C to copy, Command V to paste, and we'll delete the quote from our main body copy. So now that we've set our body copy, let's look at the positioning. From the scamp, we want our body copy to take up the last 2 columns of our page layout, and we'll position it so that it lines up with our horizontal guides as well. Now let's look at our 3 smaller images. The first thing that we want to do is let's delete our second and third image. What we want to do is we want our 3 small images to match the actual length of our body copy column so that they are identical. It will make the layout look really clean. So before we set our 3 smaller images, let's actually finalize our body copy. So the first thing I can see from my body copy is that there's a paragraph space missing from the last 3 lines. So let's put that in. Then let's set our copy so that it locks to our baseline grid. So we do that by going to the paragraph formatting tool, and then we go to the align to baseline grid. Now I'm going to select all because I missed the title, and we'll do that again and align it to the baseline grid. Now we have the final length of our body copy. We can get our 3 small images to match that length. So I'll just have a rough guess of the height of our first small image, and then I'll use my shortcuts again to copy and paste that. So Command C and Command V, and we'll position that in our column, and we'll copy and paste our third image and position that too. So looking at that, we can see that our picture boxes are 3 lines too large. So what we'll do is we'll reduce each picture box by 1 line, and then it will fit perfectly. So now let's resize our header image so that it takes up 1 more column. So now if we look at our picture boxes and our body copy, they fit perfectly. They both take up 2 columns as well. So they're matching exactly the same width. And also our gutter on each of these is also 1 line space so that it matches constantly. This again will make our layout really clean. And we'll check out our layout in preview mode. So we can see that already it's starting to look really clean, and we haven't even put the images in yet. So now let's look at our title so that it stands out over our body copy. We'll set that to 14 point, and then we'll set the weight to bold so that there's a hierarchy to our copy. And again, let's view that in preview mode and see how that's working. Okay, that's cool. So let's go back into preview mode, and then let's look at our quote. So let's position it again. So we'll have it take up 2 columns. So again, it matches our body copy and it also matches our smaller images. Now we want our quote to stand out, but we don't want it to compete with our main title. So again, there's a hierarchy to our copy. So we'll set the copy to 14 point, but we'll leave the weight to light so that the title will always be stronger. We'll set our leading to 16, and let's resize the height of our text box. That looks a little too tight, so let's try our leading at 18 point. That looks much better. And let's change Guardian to The Guardian. We don't actually need this to be as standout as the quote. We want the quote to be the place where our main attention is, not so much on who gave the quote. So we'll set the Guardian to 8 point, which is the normal size that I usually give for credits such as photographer's credits or for quotes. We'll adjust the leading to 16 point to bring it up just slightly closer to our quote, and we'll move the position also up a touch so that it lines up with our guides. So let's put that in preview mode and see if it's working. Okay, I'm not too keen on the way that never is on the page, so let's just add a return in there so that it goes down to the next line. That works better. So now that we have our positioning and our layout more or less done, let's start putting in our final images. So now let's look for our hero image. We'll press Command D to place the image, and we'll look for an image that has really a lot of impact. Okay, this is a great image, so we'll click open. So let's resize our image so that it fits the picture box. Now when we do this, we want to hold down Shift. If we don't hold down Shift, it will skew the image so that it will either be too long or it will be too tall, and it won't be set in the proportions of our picture. We never ever want that to happen. So the way we do that is by holding the shift key down, and it will set the proportions. So let's go to our direct selection tool and select our image. And then we'll go to our scaling tool and click on one of the corners, keep shift down and pull our image out so that it fits the picture box. Now we'll use the arrows on the keypad to position the picture. We'll remove our black background and then let's check it out in preview mode. Okay, this looks cool, but let's move the image over just slightly to the left because we don't want the face to be too close to the center margin. The reason why is because some of the image will be lost in the fold of the page. So we want the face to be away from that fold so that we can always see that. It doesn't really matter if we lose a little bit of the red or a small piece of the arm, but we want the face definitely to be seen. So we'll shift that over just slightly to the left. Okay, let's go back to normal mode and let's work on our smaller images. So with these images, we want to set a scene that is going to complement our main header. So this image here, because it's about Alice in Wonderland, is perfect. It tells us instantly that this is Alice in Wonderland. So we'll use that and we'll fit this to the page in a slightly different way. What we'll do is we'll go to Object, then Fit In, and then we'll say Fit Content Proportionally. And then what I like to do is go back over to my resizing tool and just resizing it so that the crop of the image is exactly how I want it to be within my picture box. Then I'll remove my black background. And I can see the image is just a touch too small, so we'll go back in and we'll resize that. And now let's work on our second image. We'll press Command D again to place the image. This image is nice, the facial expression on the actor and the interaction with the audience member, so we'll use this. And we'll resize this image with shortcuts. So we hold Command, Shift, Alt and E. And then I'll go to my direct select tool, select the image, hold down Shift and again drag the corners so that it resizes the image to the exact way that I want it to be. And then we'll remove our black background again. And then finally, we'll go for our third image. We'll press Command D again to place the image. And here we'll use one of the scenery where the actual event took place to show that this is a large scale event on the grounds of a country manor. So again, we'll use our shortcuts, Command Alt Shift and E to resize the image, and I'll go in again with the selection tool and we'll resize this again so that the cropped is perfect. And we'll remove our black background and view this in preview mode so that we can get our final position for our picture. So we'll just use the cursor keys to move this around. And this looks perfect. So we have our big main hero image that will draw all of our attention. The eye then moves over to the left and we see the three smaller images which will continue the theme of Alice in Wonderland. So we can see that it's Alice in Wonderland before we've even got to the copy. We then look at the copy and we see the title telling us Dining with Alice. We see our body copy and then our eye will move over to the left to see our quote. So the eye doesn't have to search for any information. It's led on this very simple path from left to right, and it can be viewed really, really quickly. So it's a successful layout and it works for exactly what we need it to do. It's not too cluttered. There's lots of space around the page, again, so that our hero image really does stand out. So in the final episode, we'll take this file and we'll artwork it as though we're going to send it to the printer.